Can I have everyone's attention? We're going to call the meeting to order. We're so close to being finished, we don't have a gavel today. So that's what the clerk told me. We didn't need a gavel. He had control, so I'm with him. So thank everyone for being here today, and I appreciate the senator bringing this bill before us. We only have one bill to hear. That's Senate Bill number 777. It's patroned by Senator Peake. So, Senator Peake, you ready?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the members of the committee for putting this special meeting together to consider this bill. I really appreciate it. As some of you know, I'm going to explain. This bill arose out of a tragedy that happened on February 16th in Mecklenburg County. They're called Carolina squat trucks, and what they are doing is they're jacking up the front and putting the back bumper down. And on February 16th in Mecklenburg, a guy was driving one of these, and you can't see over the hood. So he's going up a hill one way, one lane each direction, goes over, crosses the double yellow line, and hits a vehicle head on and kills the driver of the other vehicle. And until Delegate Campbell brought it to our attention in a hearing. I'd seen it on the news. I think a lot of us saw it on the news, but we didn't know they couldn't enforce it. So when we found out, we talked with Wayne Huggins with the Virginia State Police, and that violation is not a primary offense. So they can't pull them over. They can't stop them if they see those vehicles on the road. So as soon as we found that out, we got with state police, we came up with this bill to make it so if you're jacked up more than 4 inches, front bumper above the rear bumper, they can pull you over. It's a primary offense. And what we also found out, a pedestrian was killed in South Carolina, similar hood jacked up. They never saw him. North Carolina's had some fatalities, and they've already passed a bill. South Carolina is working on it. And as I told them, all these bad ideas start down in the Carolinas and work their way up to Virginia. And so we got to put a stop to what they're sending this way. I'm happy to answer questions. Tommy Wright signed on. This is a bipartisan bill. Adam Ebbin in the Senate signed on. Apparently there was a similar incident in Northern Virginia. Delegate Parker Bennett has signed on with Adam, Tommy Wright, Frank Ruff, Mecklenburg. It happened in Mecklenburg. So I think we've got a broad consensus that these are dangerous and we need to get them off the road. So I have Delegate Wright.
Thank you, Senator. Delegate Wright, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be very brief. This was a tragedy that was actually waiting to happen. I had many people come to me and ask what could be done about it and so forth. The person that got killed was B.J. Upton, and of course it affected his family greatly, and he has a kin person here this morning that will appear on Zoom. He was 27 years of age. He left behind a young son and of course the rest of his family. And appreciate, Mr. Chairman, you all hearing the bill at this late notice, and appreciate Senator Peake bringing it, and ask that you would adopt the bill.
Thank you, Delegate. We appreciate that.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Senator Huggins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Wayne Huggins, representing the Virginia State Police Association. And to put this into some practical context,
Yes.
If you've never seen one of these Carolina squat vehicles, if you were to walk out of your house one morning and for some reason the hood of your car was up, would you get in the car and drive down the road, or would you shut the hood before you drove down the road? Obviously, you'd shut the hood. The Carolina squat vehicles have the exact same effect of leaving your hood up. They are jacked so far up in the front, you can't see. The second problem it causes is, if the front of your vehicle is like this, where are your headlights pointing? Straight up in the air, so they become even more dangerous at nighttime. This is an extremely serious situation that needs to be rectified. As Senator Peake said, South Carolina is taking steps. North Carolina has already taken steps. Last thing I'll say is I was in Kenbridge 2 weekends ago. Kenbridge is a little bitty small community down in Lunenburg County. I was sitting at a traffic light, the only traffic light, and I saw 4 of these vehicles pass me while I was sitting at this traffic light. So this is an increasingly prevalent problem that needs to be addressed. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Mr.
Huggins.
Chairman.
Appreciate you kindly.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for either Mr. Huggins or for the patron.
Yes, okay. David, can we have one more person testify, delegate, and then if you don't mind, we'll hold our questions till then, if you would, please. We have someone online. Can you let them in, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Callum.
Hi, can you all hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Ann Taylor Callum, and I am BJ Upton's future sister-in-law. I kind of got thrown in this because the family just wasn't ready to speak yet, and understandably so. So I want to keep it brief, but I also feel like it's very important to reiterate some of the things that Senator Peake and everyone else has already kind of said. But we just want to thank you all for letting me be here today. I speak for all of his family and friends when I say we 100% support this bill. He is obviously the young man that Senator Peake was speaking about. And a few weeks ago, a Carolina squatted truck was on the way to work when a Carolina squatted truck hit him dead on, stopped him in his tracks. And if you've ever seen one of these, then you understand what I'm about to say. So picture this. Picture BJ's truck completely as a tin can and the transmission of that other truck in BJ's truck that pushed BJ to the back of his own truck. So to say that we think that this accident 100% happened because Carolina squat vehicle, of course we don't know that. There's probably two people that do know that, God and the person driving the truck. But do we think it could have been differently? Do we think it probably maybe lessened the percentage of it happening? 100%. And so then he leaves a 7-year-old son who will never have any more memories of his father ever again. And he's got to look and say that this crash could have been prevented if this had been a preliminary stop from the get-go. Now, I know that you guys have reasons for, why it isn't, and I completely understand and I respect them. And so does the family. But we can't bring BJ back. But what we can do is help prevent this from happening for anyone else, which would be, making this a preliminary reason to stop someone and also to make it illegal and have some regulations on these trucks. No one is saying not to modify your vehicle. I know there's been so much talk on social media, as there always is, about, what do you want us to do? Not do anything with our trucks? We could be doing so much other worse things. And I'm like, no one is saying for you not to modify your trucks. We're just saying to do it safely. And this bill is about safety and saving lives. And I believe, and so does the family, and most people in Mecklenburg County believe that this bill will save lives. And so I just want to thank you guys for letting me speak, and that's about all I have to say.
Ms. Callum, we thank you for your testimony this morning, and our condolences to the family, please. Thank you.
We appreciate that.
Thank you kindly. Okay, so is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak to this measure? Anyone either in favor or against? Okay, hearing none. We have some questions from the, I think, Delegate Reed, you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Huggins and Senator Peake, I fully support this, and I really appreciate the example that you used as far as driving down the road with your hood up. I do have a question, though, about the 4-inch differential. How did you arrive at 4 inches as opposed to 3 or 2? Because I could envision driving down the road and even having the front end of my car or truck 4 inches higher would be an impediment to being able to drive down the road safely.
We researched it, and state police researched it, and North Carolina and South Carolina are both doing the 4. I'd actually thought about making it 5 or 6 just to make sure there was no question. I don't want any pretextual stops. That's not what this bill's about. But then we decided you don't want to drive from North Carolina, South Carolina into Virginia and all have different measurements. So we settled on 4 because that appears to be the standard that the states around us are arriving at.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
One other thing, and if you have a wreck, so if you rear end somebody and your car's jacked up, you're not hitting their bumper either. So that's another problem with these things. So.
okay, thank you. Delegate Herring?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I see the remedy is that the vehicle can be towed. If the patron or council can remind us, what are the other penalties for violation of this section?
I believe it's a class 4 misdemeanor.
Okay.
So there's a fine, and I don't know, is there jail time on?
No, not a class
No,
4.
jail- no, class 4, okay.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions? Dr. Anderson?
Yes, sir, Delegate.
Thank you for the visualization of the vehicle being in the posture that you described. How would that not be reckless driving currently under the code? And why wouldn't a police officer be able to stop a vehicle where clearly the driver could not see over his hood? Why wouldn't an officer be able to stop that vehicle today for reckless driving?
Well, theoretically, I believe he could.
Okay.
It's just, should it be handled in that manner, or should it be a clear distinction in the code that these types of vehicles are not to be driven on our highways? So I think, in looking at it as a former trooper and former superintendent of state police, I think you could make the charge. Now, could you convict absent any other erratic driving behavior? I'm not sure you could.
And if I, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
And we discussed that also, we discussed that with two of your other major mags. The trooper can't say that he can't see. So, I mean, his hood may be up there, but the trooper's not in the car. The guy can say, oh, I'm 6'7", I could see over it. And so those are the problems you have. Or I'm sitting up in my seat, I can see. So the trooper can't say that he can't see. And that makes it tougher to prosecute.
Senator, if I may, I have one question. Let's just say someone has a vehicle that is average, and they go load their vehicle to Lowe's with some heavy components, and that then changes the posture of the vehicle to the point that it is more than a 4-inch differential. Is law enforcement going to use some common sense in this?
It would not apply because we said modified.
Okay, modified.
And so
Thank you.
So it is modified. We specifically address that. So if you have a load on your truck, mulch, wood, whatever.
Sure.
It does not apply.
Thank you, Senator. Dr. Bagby, you have a question?
Move to report. Second.
So we have a motion to report and a second. Okay, everyone that signify their vote by voting on electronic voting board. We got you, Delegate. I'll record your vote. We have a vote. You're a yay, I assume, Delegate? So this bill reports 20-0.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, again, thank you all for coming in, giving a special hearing and putting this through. So
We thank you for this good bill. Thank you. Thank you, Delegate Wright. Thank you kindly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, the committee. It finishes our business. The committee shall rise, and I thank all of you for being here today. Thank you.